So, hi everybody, and welcome to episode 108 of Level Up, 60 minutes of live Q&A, where your questions and chat really do drive the show. A very warm welcome to everybody. Please do let our social team know your name and, of course, the city from where you are joining. We do love to get everybody involved. Now, Ella and Adriana, I think, are online today. I can already see them posting into LinkedIn and to YouTube. So they're going to put a link in there that allows you to vote up the questions that you would most like answered. And of course, for you to add your own as well. Now, if your question to the panel is selected, your name will, of course, now appear in the credits at the end of the show. So get your questions in early and do stay with us to see that happen. If I may, actually, I would like to ask you to take a moment just to like, comment, share and subscribe to our content. It doesn't cost you anything, just takes a moment and really does help new folks discover the value of APMG and what we're doing. So today we're going to be continuing our series on changing business cultures, and in particular, how to build a culture of lean within your organization. Lean is often said to be much more than just a kind of methodology, extending perhaps way beyond that into a way of thinking or perhaps even a philosophy. Famously embraced by Toyota, their mantra was, of course, to encourage colleagues not just to come to work, but actually to come to work to think, and through that to make a difference. We have an amazing panel today to help us get our heads around all of this. So let's jump straight in and meet them if we can. Dianne Rampadarath returns to Level Up today. She is, of course, Assistant Director at the Public Service of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Dianne works with a wide range of organizations to deliver programs of sustainable rural development, where lean thinking delivers better value for citizens. Welcome back to Level Up, Dianne. Lovely to see you again.
Thank you very much, Nick. So thank you, Nick, and the team at APMG International for again the opportunity to appear on Level Up. I'm looking forward to a very interesting show to talk about the lean methodology and lean techniques. Thank you.
Thank you so much indeed. Johann Botha is, of course, the CEO over at getITright. He is a lifelong lean advocate. I think I can say that with some confidence. He's built his career, of course, on helping organizations make change always for the better, specializing in building digital age capability. Johann describes himself as a digital change provocateur. Welcome back to Level Up, Johann. It's lovely to see you again.
Thank you, Nick. There's another name for that. It's a stirrer.
Well, it's good to have some fresh thinking to challenge the status quo, my friend. So welcome back to Level Up. We'll look forward to that. Etienne Shardlow rejoins also today. He works, of course, as a senior consultant with Symphonise Consulting, where he helps his clients adopt and optimize emerging technologies, both at pace and at scale. Welcome back to Level Up, Etienne.
Yeah, good to be back. It's lovely to be here, and it's good to be speaking lean. So quite looking forward to today.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Dierk Söllner has established his coaching practice, you may remember, with a vision of always striving to strengthen people and teams. With a real focus, I think, on improving performance. Dierk is an author in his own right and publishes a German language podcast all around the theme of DevOps. Welcome back to Level Up, Dierk. Lovely to see you.
Hello, Nick. Lovely to see you. And just a lean welcome. Hello.
How fantastic is that? Perfectly formed, and every word was made to count there. Thank you so much. Falko Werner is the co-founder and agile coach over at Vempio, where he helps leaders double the effectiveness of their teams in a matter of weeks. With a background in IT engineering, he always baselines his guidance on proven techniques and methods. So welcome to Level Up, Falko. Lovely to see you.
Hi, panelists. Hi, audience. Nice to see you, Nick, as well, and a few others. Great to be here. First time on the show. Looking forward to it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much indeed. Our question master for today is Charlotte Miller, who's joining us here from the Thames Valley in the UK. Charlotte, how have you survived the week so far? A little change in the weather from warm autumn to much cooler temperatures, I think.
I was thinking of wearing my gloves for today's session, Nick, because my fingers are quite cold. It has been a change in the weather. But yes, it's been a long week this week, I must say.
Okay, all right. Well, very good. Well, we'll try and warm you up with the conversation and the energy which is coming from our audience. I've already seen lots and lots of folks online, so really great to welcome you all from all over the world. So on that note, Charlotte, I think we should crack on if we can. Let's take our first question, please.
You can, Nick. We've got a question from Harry McDermott in Birmingham. Lean management is very old. Invented in the last century, why do you think it's popular and useful again?
Okay, Johann, start us off on this one, and then we'll hear from Dierk.
I think the again in the question is maybe not entirely correct. It actually had a slow adoption in broad-based management thinking. And I think it is very pertinent for today because we have to deal with very volatile environments and quick change. And we can't rely on industrial age thinking anymore.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much, Dierk. Dierk next, and then we'll hear from Etienne.
Maybe want to say something same to Johann. I want to wipe away again. It has been used for the last 50 or 60 years. Maybe it's not obvious, but it has been used. And I think very old does not mean not good. Nick, do you agree regarding your age?
Yeah, thank you very much. Dierk, you know, it's not the age, my friend, it's the mileage. All right. So I'm feeling like the very old vehicle that's in need of a little maintenance now. I'm hoping at one time to go beyond feeling old and become a classic in my own right. So we'll wait and see if that ever actually happens. Thank you for that thinking. No, we do appreciate it. From that, then let's hear from Etienne. Then we'll get your thoughts, Dianne.
Yeah, I think the reason that lean is popular is really because the principles are timeless. So they might be old, but these are principles that they are the true essence of what principles are. They're timeless. They always apply, and pretty much everywhere. So yeah, I think for me that's the main reason why lean is as popular as it is.
Yeah, thank you very much. It is easy in this digital era, isn't it, to kind of butterfly about from one buzzword to the next, if I can mix my insect metaphors there. Dianne, what are your thinking? What's your thinking on this? Is it very old or is it still relevant today as it's always been?
I agree with Etienne that the principles remain the same because the tenets of lean management and lean methodology would always be increasing customer value, improving business processes, and increasing efficiency, which would always apply to organizations. So irrespective of the time range, it's still very much relevant.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. You know, even in my own life, I constantly kind of look at things and I think there's got to be an easier way to do this. Surely there's got to be an easier way to do this. Falko, final thoughts on this before we move on?
Great. I think lean is just a name for something that was there even before this got this name. So we have this in good craftsmanship. We have this in clean your way of keep your desk clean in the IT world, get things that you need to do organized. And if you look into Middle Ages and even before old China, a few thousand years back, the good craftsmen already had those good practices that were evolving with lean, that were kind of written down in a new way and handed from Japan through US to the rest of the world again, are still the same things.
Absolutely right.
And that's why it's old and it's good. So.
Thank you so much indeed. So a combination of both. Yeah, absolutely right. I completely agree with that. Very good. Thank you so much, panel. And thank you very much for the question to get us going. Let's see who's online joining us today. So we have Betty Bai, I think, who is joining us from Toronto in Canada. So lovely, on the east side of Canada. Fantastic. About 5 hours, I think, time difference to the UK. So welcome to your Friday morning, Betty. Great to have you online. Dr. Omar, brilliant. Thank you so much for joining from the very beautiful city of Paris. I know it very well, and I do miss it, actually. I've not been to Paris recently. And Joyce is joining us from Kenya. Joyce, I'm not sure if you've been online with us before, but brilliant to have you joining us this afternoon. We really appreciate your time with us today. Very good. So now, if you're watching online and you have a question, then please do submit it into the panel. You can just type it into the chat, and Adriana or Ella will pick it up from there, and they'll bring it straight into the panel on your behalf. Let's move on, Charlotte, if we can. We'll take our next question, please.
You certainly can, Nick. We've got a question from Paul. What is the main purpose or benefit of implementing a lean culture?
All right. So what would we say are the main purpose? Dianne, why don't you start us off, and then we'll hear from Etienne next.
So lean is about a culture of teamwork, shared responsibility, and ownership among employees to improve business processes and to add value to meet your customers' needs. So the benefit of implementing lean would be to achieve your organizational objectives as well as increasing customer satisfaction.
Thank you very much indeed. Etienne, your thoughts on this, then Johann?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much more I can add, but achieving value through better efficiency, really.
And do you think that there's an element of bringing people with you in this as well? Because it's quite an empowering approach, isn't it, the lean culture? It really celebrates ideas coming from anywhere.
It really is very empowering. You can't do lean without trust. Yeah, it's a huge part of, today we're talking about the culture of lean. It's a culture of trust.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed, Johann, and then Falko.
I don't think you can implement lean culture because if you don't get the culture right, you won't get lean right. It starts with thinking that's manifested in behavior. And it actually starts with the behavior of the leadership of the organization. Etienne said it's about trust. And I often speak to leadership in organization and then they say, but you don't understand, I can't trust my people. Yeah, they must first earn my trust. And actually the reverse is true. Your people must first see that they can trust you before they'll start contributing and doing what they should be doing all along.
It's very important, that, isn't it? It's the classic thing where, somebody responsible for process improvement lifts the lid on the suggestions box once a week, and there's nothing in it except for a hibernating spider. And unless you have, metaphorically at least, unless you have that feeling of safety, that safe space in which you can look at a problem and think, do you know what? Why don't we just try this? Yeah, we look at this differently. Then you're absolutely right, Johann. It's highly unlikely that you're going to get the kind of innovation and creativity and problem solving and lean thinking coming through. Falko, your thoughts? Then we'll hear from Dierk, please.
All right. I was thinking about the question, implementing a lean culture. From my point of view, we have the leadership approach, getting people executing kind of lean ways of working as an example. And I think adding to that would be to create structures, to give freedom, to make it clear that people should think, and also team structures and like workplace structure that helps to implement or to let evolve some kind of culture. And that means it is important to have the freedom and the push. Freedom to think and to want to get the insights of the people, the heads inside the work, and the push to strive for value creation for the customer. And to bring this together, it helps to have exemplary leaders and to have a good structure.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. We're just going to troubleshoot some audio there on the fly while we're looking at that. But thank you, Falko. I picked up pretty much everything that you were saying there, so we'll just look into that for you. Dierk, your thoughts, and then we'll come back to the panel.
Just adding some German words for that, and I think the translation for these German words are not so good to understand the real German meaning for that. So in Germany, we call it gesunder Menschenverstand, which may be translated into common sense. So gesund or healthy, it's so from my point of view, many companies are struggling with implementing frameworks. They are buying some books, they are buying consultants, and they want to implement something from the outside. So the main benefit should be using your own brain, evolving your own culture, and use your brain.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Now, from a panel's point of view, we see on LinkedIn, I read on LinkedIn every day, 101 things not to do as a leader. And it's very rare that actually, if you benchmark yourself against LinkedIn, you end up feeling quite underwhelmed, actually. But nonetheless, how important do you feel, panelists, it is for leaders to develop a more questioning leadership style instead of making statements, to actually ask better questions? Johann, what are your thoughts on this? And where I'm going with that is, could that lead to being helpful? Is that seen as helpful in building this kind of culture?
Absolutely. I think that the thing that you need to bear in mind is that in a lean context, the role of management is to be coaches that help people develop so that they can do better for the benefit of the organization. And I mean, one of the techniques that we use is we go to the workplace, going to Gemba. And the rules that was defined by Etienne was go see, ask why, and show respect. So the go see is obvious. But people misinterpret the ask why. The ask why is not to say, why do you do it that way, you idiot? It's to actually learn from the person who's doing the job. Because we know the closer that you are to doing the job, the more likely it is that you know about the problems and the things that needs to be solved and the things that doesn't work. So going to Gemba is about learning, and learning also how you can support your employees, the people at the place where work happens, and enable them to do things better. I mean, it's similar to the role of a Scrum Master in Scrum. Their main job is to remove impediments, and that's what leadership in a lean context needs to do.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Falko, your thoughts, and then we'll hear from Etienne.
Yeah, what we already heard is the topic of asking why, to drill down into the questions. The 5 why method is there as one of the pillars of lean management or ways of working, asking not only once, but again and again to find the root cause and go into the root cause analysis to improve not only on the surface, but really into the root cause of problems. Often it's very interesting what results come out of that if you really do that. That's one of the parts, and I think also the modern coaching way of managing and leading people, asking questions. Michael Bunger's tenure, their coaching habit with very simple ways of getting people to think. is a very helpful way of leading and steering organizations.
Okay, thank you very much. Etienne, final thoughts on this?
Yeah, I was just reminded when Johann was talking about how you ask why. It reminded me of a quote from W. Edwards Deming. And he said, if you don't know how to ask the right question, you discover nothing. And so you've got to know how to ask these questions.
It's such an important thing, isn't it? And what excellent advice. And, if you're watching this and you are, thinking about how to improve your career, one of the best ways to do it is to think about better questions. Okay. Take the emotion out when you're in a meeting. Just take the emotion out for a moment and start thinking about what question could I ask, even if you know the answer. All right. Even if you feel that you know the answer, try and phrase it as a question, because you may find that actually, with the benefit of the intelligence of the crowd, however small your meeting is, you have other people's brains to engage with, and they're likely to enrich, your thinking. Now, Johann, you're a kind of the consultant's consultant in many ways in this area, but would you agree with that?
Absolutely. In fact, one of the techniques that we use in team workshops is when we listen to things going wrong within the organization, we teach people not to think about the problem, but to say, how would we, and then solve the problem that they've just identified.
Okay.
So framing something into a question is actually, it changes the way that you think about it.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, panel. And a great question from Paul. Kind of started us off on a bit of a journey, and we took a little we took a little branch, I think, kind of as we went along there. Thank you very much indeed. Charlotte, I can see we've got loads of people online. Welcome back, Bartosz. Really great to see you again, my friend. Idris, really great that you're online today as well. So I would encourage you folks, if you're online, to submit some questions. Implementing new cultures into an organization, getting things done is super tricky. And I'm quite sure that you would benefit from, getting some advice from the panel directly. And by all means, anonymize it. But I'm sure from that advice and guidance, you can think of a great question to be able to put. All right, excellent. Let's move on if we can. And we'll take our next question, please, Charlotte.
Thanks, Nick. The next question is from John in Johannesburg. Many people associate lean with job losses. Are job losses always associated with lean?
Okay, yeah, we've heard all of this, isn't it? We want more from less, okay, or more from fewer of you, if you're going to be grammatically correct. So, Johann, is it always the case?
It should never be the case. So what you should do is you should free up people to do more meaningful work. And that's how you get more. You don't get more by having less people. You get more by being more innovative, more productive, creating more value for your customers. So I get the heebie-jeebies just from seeing this question.
Okay, all right. And I don't think you'd be alone in that either. But nonetheless, it is always a concern, isn't it, out there? Etienne, your thoughts on this, please.
Yeah, it's a common concern with lean. Everyone associates it with getting more out of less, and that really is not the case. It really is about taking what you've got and getting more from that. If you think about where a lot of these lean principles kind of came into manufacturing, it was through Toyota. I may be wrong now because it's something that I remember from many years ago, but Toyota hadn't laid anyone off since the 1950s. I don't know if that's still true, but that was true as long ago as 2010. So maybe in the last 10 years, that has changed. But they hadn't laid anyone off from 1950 all the way through to 2010. That's a long time to not lay anyone off. And they use lean. They are the embodiment of lean for many of us. So,
absolutely.
So it really is not about laying people off. It really is about, as Johann said, helping people to be more efficient, so you can actually achieve so much more.
Absolutely. Dianne, now your work straddles government and non-government organisations. Is there this perception, from people that somehow or another improvement will lead to reduction in headcount?
Yes, it has been a concern, but as we indicate through various communication channels, that the lean methodology is really about business and continuous process improvement, and it aligns people with process. So you need people. So if you fire people, then how can you implement lean methodologies?
Yeah, it's certainly true, isn't it? And as the world is facing, real headwinds now in terms of recession and so on, good organizations really do need to think about, have you got your folks aligned and applying themselves in the best possible way? And this is a brilliant way in which you can focus attention on those areas where you can, get some fresh thinking, get some new brains by freeing them up to go and look at those challenges and see what challenges you can actually solve together as a team, which is a fantastic way, I think, to galvanize, if I can use that word, to bring people together in a meaningful way to be able to progress and make a difference. All right, very good. Let's move on if we can. Charlotte, please, and we'll take our next question.
Thanks, Nick. We've got a question from Jane in Manchester. They ask, what does a good lean culture look like?
I think this is a great question because we're often, encouraged, to look at different things, but within the context of encouraging lean behaviors and the embodiment of, culture in an organization, observable behaviors, what would you look for that would suggest to you that it's healthy and it's good? Dierk, start us off, please.
Okay, thank you. So culture is based on trust. That's what we were talking about the last 20 minutes or half an hour. So trust, building trust. And you can't build trust by implementing some methods, some approaches. You have to live. You have to be empathic. Building trust, maybe the first thing. And the second thing, I think, start where you are. As I said, not implementing something like lean, not implementing other frameworks. Start where you are. Take your employees, take the persons you are dealing with, the persons who are doing the job. Ask why. That's what we said today. And so just trust and start where you are.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Dianne, and then Falko.
A lean culture is about looking at the business processes and seeing where the wastes are and trying to eliminate it. A lean culture is also one of teamwork and a mind shift more towards continuous process improvement to add value to meet your customers' needs.
I'd agree with that. I think quite often businesses are presented with key performance indicators, but the way in which they're often discussed is as a snapshot rather than as a trend. And I think you miss so much. And it's particularly true. My country is obsessed with football. As a nation, we're obsessed with football. Now, the rugby is actually playing at the moment, but most of the time in the wintertime, we're obsessed with football. And of course, the football team doesn't do so well. So the manager, their contract is terminated and they bring in a new manager. And then for the next 3 games, things look quite good. And it depends over the time period that you're looking at the trend. But trend, generally speaking, will give you a much clearer understanding of how your organization is performing than an individual separate snapshot will ever do. Thank you, Dianne. Falko, and then Johann, please.
All right. What does a good lean culture look like? From my point of view, it's inclusive. It is building on the people first, more or less, learning from the different perspectives, bringing them together and building teams, building organizations from the bottom up.
Yeah, so important, that inclusivity and making sure that people have not just access, but they're welcomed, to be able to participate as well. So thank you for that. Johann, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, the first thing, it's not about the tools and techniques. Far too many people are hung up with JIT and reducing waste, and it's important. You have to do all that stuff. But for me, the recognizing whether there's a lean culture is, I look at the leadership and I look at the way that they support people to grow and to be more. Because of all the people in the organization can be more than the organization can collectively be more.
Excellent. And that's a really good segue, I think, into our thinking about how to progress with this, because waste is not necessarily expressed just in one way. It can be expressed in maybe a symptom, if you like, and the underlying cause could be a whole variety of different things. So let's move on, if we can, and we'll take our next question, please.
Thanks, Nick. We've got a question that's come in from a LinkedIn viewer during the show. Betty asks, is lean to reduce waste? It seems it is easy to understand we need lean for cost reduction. In innovate efforts, what kind of waste shall we reduce with lean?
All right. Okay. Now, this is really pertinent, I think. So I want to go beyond, want to use this as a bridging question. So thank you, Betty, to go beyond where we've just come from. So, Johann, why don't you start us off, and then we'll hear from Dierk next.
Yeah, I think that people need to realize that there's different types of waste in organizations and in processes. So the Japanese names for that is muda, mura, and muri. And what many people don't recognize is the easier way to get rid of waste is to stop doing stupid stuff. A policy that was defined 15 years ago for a very good reason at that time, that's still in place and keeps us from getting the results that we want now. So don't always just focus on that little acronym of TIMWOOD. Yeah, we do a lot of process improvement around the fact that we help organizations to see where their own requirements actually becomes wasteful.
Okay, thank you very much. Dierk, your thoughts, and then we'll hear from Dianne.
To my point of view, I think if you're talking about cost reduction, that's what you see. That's what you can measure. That's what you can present in some slides to the boards. But to my point of view, lean is focusing on effective ways, on what Johann called it, meaningful work. So you can drive very fast with your car, but if you go into a dead-end street, it will not help you. So before going with fast cars into a dead-end street, just stop there and think, is it the right way? So being more effective. And that's what I think. It's not easy to think about that, because everyone thinks, okay, he's standing there. He's just standing there and thinking. He's not productive. It's easy to drive very fast and to say, I'm very productive. But if you go into dead-end street, it will not help you.
I quite like the idea of my surgeon standing there and thinking before applying the scalpel. I quite like that. I quite like that. I would feel a warm, comforting glow if that was the case. Dianne, your thoughts on this, please.
Some of the ways that can be reduced for continuous business process efficiency can be transportation, inventory, overproduction, or overprocessing, so that you improve efficiency in your lean introduction.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. And there are many KPIs on there, many measures, around productivity and different ratios and things that you can use. But I think the key thing to look for here is, are you heading in the right direction? All right, in your innovation, to innovate, all innovation has a certain degree of risk to it. So what is your risk appetite? And how good is the quality of that thinking behind the innovation? All ideas remain ideas, don't forget, until we express them and we're able to actually share them with others. Otherwise, they are just dreams. Just dreams. So you have to do something if you want to innovate properly. Thank you very much indeed, panel. Let's press on if we can, and we'll take our next question, please, Charlotte.
Thanks, Nick. We've got another live question from Julian. Julian asks, what tools could you use to drive this lean culture, such as prioritization, etc.?
Okay, all right, Falko, why don't you start us off then on this one, please?
Yeah, I really like that question. It's kind of the question for the consultants, for the people who know that there are hundreds of things to do. I really like visualization, visualizing the flow of work, value stream mapping, management. That's often a good way to get people to talk and get a common understanding and get them to discuss valuable against non-value adding work and things like that. You have the pull principle, you have Kanban to visualize status of work that is in place, work in process limits to help you. So there are, as I said, hundreds of tools and methods, but getting people together and talking and finding the problems, solving them is probably summarizing what is necessary to do.
Yeah, absolutely right. I think we've slain whole forests, haven't we, and then dyed them neon colours with our post-it notes around the world, but very effective tool they can be in the right hands, I would suggest. Johann, your thoughts on this, and then we'll hear from Etienne.
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of things that we can do. I'm actually looking for a question that I'm quite sure that I saw earlier that talked about a specific technique which I wasn't familiar with, and I learned something. So, Ocean, making sure that there's a cascade within the organization and people understand exactly how they contribute to the success of the organization. Value stream mapping, obviously, because that tells us about what the customer wants. Once again, at the place where work happens, people can see if there's processes and procedures that needs to be updated and changed, or steps that can be eliminated for that matter. Yeah, things that's really important.
Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, thank you, Johann. Etienne, your thoughts, and then Dierk.
Yeah, for me, I think the trick is to get the culture right before focusing on the tools, but there are some amazing tools that we can use. And so, I like a lot of these tools that you can use to they talk about making work visible, which is kind of what Kanban is about. But use Kanban to then do the value stream mapping. Use Kanban to help you with analyzing and finding bottlenecks. So all of these techniques, there's so many tools that we can use. And with COVID happening over the last 2 years, so many companies have introduced new electronic ways of using Kanban boards and online whiteboards. And so there's so many collaboration tools available now that there's no excuse for even remote teams, because Post-it notes don't work very well remotely. So there's no excuse anymore. We've got some amazing tools, and some of them are free, some of them are paid for, and there's some incredible tools out there. And my advice is to go out, fiddle with a few, see which one works for you. They're not all designed for everyone, so find the one that works best for your team.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. I think you'll find for the online versions, if you can't figure it out in 5 minutes, it's probably not the tool for you. So just keep Googling, because there are so many to pick from. You'll find one with a user interface that you can really relate to. Dierk, what are your thoughts on this? What tools could you use to drive this kind of thinking or this kind of culture?
I like Post-its. I like haptic words or Post-it notes. So COVID is against me, but I want to focus and want to think. Want to point out for the last 2.5 years, I'm working on boards like Miro, like Mural, all the things like that. And what I learned is that it takes longer for people to collaborate and to communicate, even if you have those great tools. So I would like to say, try to meet yourself not to meet yourself, try to meet with all the guys in one room, try to use haptic things. That's what I would like to suggest.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because as technology has been evolving, more and more people are looking for haptic response and haptic feedback from a purely if I can say it, a kind of clinical interface, the two-dimensional interface. They're looking for some kind of feedback. And it is beginning to get there a lot more, but nonetheless, there's a huge gulf between the online world and the physical world still. And perhaps that's a really good thing. We did have to rediscover the fabulous immersion of a live rock concert. But it was only after we went through streaming, we suddenly realized, actually, do you know what? Live music moves the soul in a way that a curated playlist might not. Falko, your thoughts, please.
One good thing that I did with the software development team to combine the virtual and the real world is to have a big 65-inch touchscreen in the room where the team could work on a Jira board. So you have the click and drag thing. You have it live, online, in sync with whatever people are doing online. Maybe they are home, but the rest of the team can see it live on the board. And the haptical part that you can drag and drop a card, take it from to do in doing and talk about it. And I think that's very helpful. And that's also something where I set up my IT infrastructure to have touchscreens everywhere, not only on the mobile phone, but on the laptop, on the big screen. And that really helps to combine things, to think about how you can get the physical world and the virtual world into one. I think also maybe a few years in the future, things like metaverse and virtual or augmented reality might be helpful tools as well to get people together with avatars and talk to each other in a way that is very real, but still where you don't have to travel, where you don't have to have the carbon footprint that brings along. So good things to combine and learn from what works in some places and try to build upon it.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Well, excellent. Very good job, panel. Now we're going to pick up the pace a little bit so we can fit a little bit more value in. Let's be more efficient if we can. It seems appropriate to ask that question. Charlotte, let's take our next question, please.
Thanks, Nick. We've got a question from Cindy. What are some organizational risks to implementing a lean system which negatively impacts on its strategic objectives being achieved?
All right. Now, that's quite a very well-constructed question, and I can see the panel are puzzled slightly by it. So we're going to think our way into it, if we may. We're going to adopt a lean approach here by thinking our way into it. I'm going to start us off by trying to break that down just a little bit, all right? There are always risks with making changes. There always are, okay? But there is equally so something which is, I would say, the hidden time bomb of every business, which is if you don't evolve, then the risk grows daily of your demise. So I would suggest always try and balance, take a balanced view of risk, assess it if you can, manage and mitigate it proactively, but nonetheless, don't let it entirely deflect you from changing. Dianne, your thoughts, then we'll hear from Etienne.
So some of the risks can be a lack of knowledge by the employees on your lean team. Also, if there's a reorganization of the team while a project is being implemented, it can lead to greater problems in implementing your lean methodology. And also, if there's a misunderstanding of your customer needs, then you would not be able to adequately address these needs and add value, which can lead to a risk to your organization.
Thank you very much indeed. And Etienne, your thoughts, please?
Yeah, for me, the risks don't really lie in lean itself, and the techniques and things. Those, for me, all have positive outcomes, even if the outcome is learning. For me, the biggest risks are when you announce that you're going to try lean or you're going to make this journey, there can often be that kickback, and people have heard, like we heard the question earlier about job losses. People will immediately start to resist these ideas that you're bringing in, and why are we bringing in this outside concept? Why are we doing lean now? Lean is old, So you will get a lot of kickback, and I think we need to manage the organizational change aspects of this culture change that is required to make lean work. So I don't think the risks lie with lean itself, but in how we actually approach it.
Understand. Thank you so much, Johann.
I actually think there's a lean technique that helps you to mitigate risks associated to the organization not achieving strategic objectives, and that's called Ocean Connery. So that's the whole idea, is that we cascade high-level objectives down in the organization, breaking them down to the next level of contribution, and everybody in the organization understanding exactly what it is that they need to do. So I would change the question and actually rather say, how can lean help you to minimize the risk of not achieving your strategic objectives?
Absolutely right. Thank you very much indeed. And really thought-provoking, that one. So thank you so much, Cindy, for submitting it. And I can see actually in the social chat as well, some thoughts and reflections from our audience as well around, the use of virtual, the use of, augmented reality and all of this kind of thing. So really great thinking from everybody. I'm glad that we've got the grey matter in our brains really working hard this afternoon. So thank you very much indeed. Excellent. All right, let's move on, please, panel, and we'll take what I think is likely to be our last question. So we're going to need to move at some pace, please.
Thanks, Nick. Question from James in Yorkshire. How important are people in building a culture of lean?
Well, culture and people is kind of interwoven. It's going to be really difficult to take these things apart. I'm imagining almost one-word answers here. Falko and then Etienne, please.
Yeah. If people are building the culture, so they are just one.
All right.
Etienne?
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much indeed, Etienne.
Yeah, the single word is extremely. It's extremely important. People, are extremely important to lean. You can't do it without.
Absolutely right. Thank you, Johann. Single sentence.
Extremely.
Right, perfect. Thank you so much. And Dierk, is there a German word? Is there an elegant German word that says people are at the heart of things, or am I just imagining that?
No, I don't get this word. So I just want to say it's okay. I want to agree to all the participants, to panelists before me.
Okay,
sorry,
thank you so much.
No German word.
No, that's quite all right. That's quite all right. I'm sure that we can weld two other words together and come up with one between us at some point. Dianne, final thoughts on this one. How important are people?
Very important, because people must work together to achieve your objectives.
Absolutely right. Thank you so much. And thank you very much everybody today for taking us on not just a pragmatic look at this, but also really elevating my thinking beyond where it has been so far in considering all of the different aspects of embracing a philosophy that can really make a difference, not just at work, but also something that we didn't touch on too much in our own daily lives. So let's get some closing remarks then from our panel, if we may. Dierk, start us off, please, and then we'll hear from Johann.
Oh, sorry, I just waited for my great screen with me on it. So thank you, panelists. Thank you, Nick. And as always, I'm learning by participating here. And thank you to have the chance to learn and to give some learnings, to give some experience back to all over the world. I think that's great. All over the world. I think that's. Thank you, APMG. Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. I feel every Monday and every Friday, the panel comes together with the audience, and it's like having a little, almost a little lift every day. Every day you raise me up a little, and I learn something new. So I completely agree with that. Thank you, Dierk. Johann, and then Etienne.
Okay, so as usual, I'll end with a quote. This time, Daichi Ono. Something is wrong if workers do not look around each day, find things that are wrong, tedious, or boring, and then rewrite the procedures. Every last month's manual should be out of date today. Thanks for the opportunity once again, APMG. You're a star.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Johann, for joining us again. It's really great to have you on the panel. Etienne, final thoughts, and then we'll hear from Falko.
Yeah, again, thank you for the platform. Always good to learn something new, and I took away a lot again, from the panel. It's always interesting to get insights from others. I'm always advising, so it's always nice to be able to learn from others who are in similar fields. So always good to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely right. Thank you so much, Falko, and then Dianne.
Yeah, thanks for letting me talk here. First time was a good experience. I like to be able to share what I can and learn and take along your ideas. So that was very helpful, and I hope we provided value to the customer.
I'm sure that you have. Falko, and thank you very much, and a great first appearance on Level Up. We do hope that you will return in the near future. Dianne, your final thoughts, please.
Thank you very much, Nick. So, of course, as usual, a very interesting show with a lot of interesting questions, and I also learned a lot from my fellow panelists. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. And Charlotte, it's been an interesting journey today through the thinking about lean and building better and more efficient and effective organizations. Your reflections on today.
Thanks, Nick. I think one thing that always astounds me with our panelists is the quotes that they remember. And I don't know how they do it. They memorize them, and it's always the most appropriate quotes that are mentioned. I guess lean for me is all about making sure you do the things the most effectively. Thank you to our panelists, and thank you to our viewers.
Absolutely right. We've had some fantastic producers online today, and that's the correct term for you. You are the producers of the show, because it's your questions that actually dictate what it is that we talk about. So very well done for putting your thoughts and your ideas into the chat and helping other people to, think a little about how they're going about things and to level up their career collectively. So thank you very much, Charlotte. Thank you, panel. Now then, looking forwards a little bit, I do want you to, by the way, just stay with us and look out for your name in the credits if your question was selected. But over on our website, you can, of course, search for more than 1,500 questions now, I think. It's a comprehensive guide and a fantastic resource. They've all been asked and answered through the variety of media that APMG produces every week and every month. And it connects you with 170 experts or thereabouts from all over the world in different disciplines. So don't forget, you can also listen to the audio versions of the shows on your preferred podcast platform. Now then, looking forwards a little, on Monday, we're going to be thinking about strategy, and in particular, how to really get a new strategy implemented in your organization and embedded so that everybody understands how they can work towards that single goal, if you like, an objective. Now, how we approach becoming a strategy implementation specialist as a kind of career choice is going to be at the heart of that conversation. So do join us for that. Friday the 11th, we're going to be exploring how to become an agent for change, and in particular, when working in an agile environment. All right, so that's an episode to really dial in for. And then we'll turn our attention to careers in experience design on Monday, the 14th of November. Subscribe to the show, and we will, of course, send you a personal summary of what's coming up and how you too can join us here on the panel and level up your career with APMG. So thanks very much indeed, everybody. We really appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye now.